Have you ever felt like your kindness was taken for granted? Imagine this. A friend of mine, always the kindest soul in the room, spent years helping everyone around her. She gave without hesitation, solving problems, lending a hand, and putting others' needs first. But one day she realized something unsettling. She felt drained, unappreciated, and, worst of all, disrespected. Kindness, though beautiful, can become a double-edged sword when given without boundaries. My friend's experience isn't unique. Many of us find ourselves trapped in this cycle of overgiving. Have you ever wondered why kindness sometimes feels more like a weakness than a strength? Today, we're diving deep into 7 Stoic lessons that reveal how unchecked kindness can harm your emotional well-being, weaken your boundaries, and attract the wrong people into your life. More importantly, I'll show you practical Stoic strategies to protect your energy, maintain healthy limits, and transform kindness into a force of inner strength. If you've ever struggled with emotional boundaries, felt exhausted from giving too much, or wondered how to reclaim balance in your relationships, this video is for you. Stick around to learn the ultimate Stoic wisdom that will empower you to say no when needed, stay true to your values, and build a life of resilience and inner peace. Before we dive in, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official for your daily dose of Stoic insights. No. 1. The risks of unrealistic expectations. Have you ever found yourself constantly giving, hoping others would do the same for you, only to feel invisible when you needed help the most? A close friend of mine lived this exact reality. She was the kind of person who would drop everything to help someone in need, a true embodiment of selflessness. But over time, something changed. She started to feel exhausted, not just physically but emotionally, as though every act of kindness was slowly chipping away at her spirit. As my friend sat alone one evening, reflecting on years of relentless giving, she felt a deep ache in her chest. It wasn't the physical exhaustion or the countless late nights helping others that weighed on her. It was the hollow realization that no one had truly been there for her when she needed them most. She whispered to herself, "Why do I feel so unappreciated when all I've ever done is try to be kind?" The truth is, that kindness, when given without mindfulness, often creates unrealistic expectations. When we give and give, expecting others to mirror our efforts, we set ourselves up for disappointment. My friend realized she had hoped that her generosity would naturally inspire others to care for her in return. But life doesn't work that way. Stoic philosophy teaches us a crucial truth. We must accept things as they are, not as we wish them to be. When kindness lacks balance, it can distort relationships. My friend's endless acts of goodwill had created a pattern where those around her had grown dependent. They expected her help without question. Over time, this eroded the respect they once had for her efforts. Have you ever felt like your kindness was being taken for granted? The Stoics remind us that true emotional resilience begins with letting go of our expectations of others. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This wisdom invites us to focus on our actions, not the reactions we receive. But how do we escape this cycle of emotional exhaustion? The answer lies in shifting your mindset and redefining kindness through the lens of self-control and mindfulness. Here's how. 1. Practice kindness without attachment. Stoicism emphasizes that virtue should come from a place of inner strength, not a need for validation. Kindness, at its core, is an act of love and respect, not a transaction. My friend began practicing kindness without expecting anything in return. At first, it was difficult. She had to confront the disappointment she felt when others didn't reciprocate. But over time, she found liberation. By letting go of unrealistic hopes, she reclaimed her peace. 2. Set boundaries to protect your energy. My friend learned that kindness without limits is like pouring water from an empty cup. She started setting healthy boundaries, something she had avoided for years out of fear of appearing selfish. For example, she began saying no to requests that drained her energy, prioritizing tasks that aligned with her values instead. Saying no isn't unkind, it's an act of self-respect. Boundaries allow you to give meaningfully, ensuring your kindness comes from abundance rather than depletion. When she started valuing her time and energy, Others began respecting her limits. The relationships that mattered grew stronger, while the ones built on dependency faded away. Number 3. Shift focus to gratitude and presence. Stoicism teaches us to live in the present moment. My friend started practicing gratitude for the small, meaningful acts of kindness in her life. She focused less on what wasn't given back and more on the fulfillment that came from living her values. By anchoring her actions in mindfulness, she felt lighter, more centered, and less emotionally burdened. For example, instead of dwelling on the friend who forgot to return her call, she cherished the time spent with someone who valued her presence. This simple shift transformed her perspective, allowing her to find joy in giving without feeling used. Number 4. Build strength through self-reflection. Kindness should never come at the expense of your well-being. My friend made a habit of journaling daily, reflecting on her motivations for helping others. Were her actions rooted in love, or were they driven by a need for approval? This practice helped her align her actions with Stoic principles, cultivating inner strength and emotional balance. As Epictetus once said, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." When you embody kindness grounded in self-awareness and limits, you inspire respect and authenticity in your relationships. By the end of her journey, my friend had learned to balance her generosity with wisdom. She stopped measuring her worth by the approval of others and embraced the Stoic truth. Real power comes from acting virtuously, not from others' reactions. So the next time you feel drained by your kindness, remember this. Your worth isn't defined by how much you give. It's defined by the balance and mindfulness you bring to your actions. And that in itself is the purest form of kindness. Note 2. Enabling dependence. Have you ever found yourself stuck in a pattern where people expect you to solve their problems as if your kindness has turned into an unpaid obligation? A neighbor of mine, someone I deeply respect, lived through this struggle. She was the go-to person in our community, the one who could always be relied upon to watch a child, lend money, or fix a crisis. At first, it brought her joy, knowing she was helping others. But as time passed, something shifted. One evening she confided in me, her voice heavy with frustration. "I don't understand," she said. "Why do I feel so drained? The more I help, the more people expect it. It's like they assume I exist solely to make their lives easier." Her story made me think, does kindness lose its value when it becomes an expectation rather than a gift? Stoic philosophy answers this with clarity. When we give too much without thought for balance, we enable dependence. Instead of helping others grow stronger, we inadvertently weaken their sense of responsibility. In my neighbor's case, her acts of generosity had created a cycle of reliance. She was always the first call in a crisis, yet when she needed support, there was no one there. She had unintentionally trained those around her to expect her kindness as a given. Have you ever felt this way? The Stoic solution. How to break the cycle. 1. Redefine what it means to help. One of the key lessons of Stoicism is that true kindness empowers others rather than enabling their dependence. My neighbor realized that her constant yes was not helping, it was holding others back. From that moment, she began approaching requests differently. Instead of solving every problem, she started asking questions like, "How do you think you can handle this?" Or, "What have you tried so far?" By gently guiding people to think for themselves, she shifted her role from a fixer to a supporter. This approach not only helped her protect her time and energy, but also encouraged those around her to grow. 2. Set firm boundaries. Boundaries are essential for maintaining balance, yet many of us struggle to set them because we fear appearing unkind. My neighbor shared how she initially resisted this idea, worrying she'd disappoint people. But Stoicism teaches that boundaries are an act of respect, both for yourself and for others. She began setting clear limits. For example, instead of agreeing to last-minute requests, she would say, "I'd love to help, but I need more notice next time." This simple shift helped her regain control of her time and prevented her from feeling overburdened. Setting boundaries doesn't mean rejecting kindness. It means ensuring your generosity comes from a place of strength, not exhaustion. Foster self-reliance in others. As the Stoics remind us, we cannot control how others act, but we can influence how we respond. My neighbor began focusing on fostering self-reliance in those who came to her for help. Instead of offering quick fixes, she started sharing tools and resources. For instance, when a friend needed financial help, she provided advice on budgeting rather than handing over money. This change wasn't easy. At times, people pushed back, frustrated by the lack of immediate solutions. But over time, they began to respect her for encouraging their independence. 4. Reconnect with your inner values. One of the most powerful shifts my neighbor made was reconnecting with her values. Stoic philosophy teaches us to act following reason and virtue, not the expectations of others. She began asking herself, does this align with my principles? Before saying yes to any request. This simple habit gave her the clarity to distinguish between genuine kindness and acts driven by guilt or obligation. It also helped her focus on the relationships that truly mattered, rather than trying to please everyone. Kindness, when balanced with wisdom and boundaries, becomes a force for growth rather than dependence. As my neighbor discovered, true generosity is not about saying yes to every request. It's about knowing when to step back and let others take responsibility. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by demands on your kindness, ask yourself this: am I truly helping or am I enabling? The answer, as the Stoics would say, lies in practicing virtue with mindfulness and strength. 3. Neglecting personal goals. Have you ever felt like your life has become all about helping others, leaving no room for your dreams? My uncle, a kind-hearted and selfless man, faced this very struggle. He had always been the rock of our family, the one everyone turned to in times of need. Whether it was fixing something around the house or giving up his weekend to help a friend move, he never hesitated to lend a hand. But as the years went by, something shifted. One day, during a quiet moment at a family gathering, he admitted, "I don't even remember the last time I did something just for me. I used to love painting, but now I don't even know where my brushes are." His words struck me deeply. How does someone so giving end up feeling so lost? Stoic philosophy teaches us an important lesson. If you don't prioritize your own goals, no one else will. My uncle's constant focus on others left his ambitions to wither. The dreams he once held, of traveling, painting, and building something meaningful, were buried under the weight of everyone else's needs. Have you ever felt like your life is on hold because you're too busy supporting others? The Stoic solution: reclaiming your purpose. 1. Recognize the cost of neglect. The first step is acknowledging the emotional and spiritual toll of putting yourself last. My uncle realized that while he took pride in helping others, it came at a high cost. Over time, his kindness turned into resentment, not because he didn't want to help, but because he felt invisible. The Stoics remind us that living in alignment with our values requires balance. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This means living a life where your actions reflect both your compassion and your purpose. 2. Carve out time for your passions. My uncle's breakthrough came when he decided to carve out just 1 hour a week for himself. It didn't seem like much, but it was a start. He dusted off his old painting supplies and set up a small corner in his home. That first painting session, he told me, felt like breathing again after holding his breath for years. Taking time for your passions doesn't mean abandoning others. It means filling your own cup so you can give from a place of abundance. 3. Learn to say no with purpose. One of the hardest lessons for my uncle was learning to say no. For years, he had equated saying no with letting people down. But Stoicism teaches us that every no to someone else is a yes to yourself. He started small, politely declining requests that clashed with his newly scheduled me time. At first, it felt uncomfortable, but over time, he noticed a shift. People began respecting his boundaries, and he found himself with more energy to give when it truly mattered. 4. Align actions with your values. The Stoics believed in living a life guided by reason and virtue. My uncle began reflecting on what truly mattered to him. Was he helping others out of love or out of obligation? Were his actions aligned with his values, or was he trying to meet others' expectations? Through journaling and quiet reflection, he reconnected with his sense of purpose. He realized that by pursuing his own goals, he wasn't being selfish. He was becoming the best version of himself. 5. Build a supportive community. Another powerful shift came when my uncle started surrounding himself with people who supported his growth. He joined a local art group where he met others who shared his passion for creativity. These connections inspired him to keep going, even on days when he doubted himself. As Epictetus once said, "The key is to keep company only with people who uplift you, whose presence calls forth your best." By prioritizing his passions and setting boundaries, my uncle transformed his life. He became a source of inspiration for others, not by overgiving, but by showing what it means to live with purpose. So if you've ever felt like your personal goals are slipping away, remember this: your dreams matter just as much as the people you support. Start small, say no when you need to, and watch how reclaiming your purpose brings peace and fulfillment to your life. No. 4. Perception of weakness. Have you ever noticed that the more you help, the less people seem to value your efforts? My wife, a deeply compassionate and generous woman, knows this feeling all too well. For years, she gave her time and energy freely, always eager to lend a hand or solve a problem for those around her. She believed that kindness was her strength, her way of making the world a better place. But slowly, the dynamics began to shift. The friends who once appreciated her help started to expect it. The small favors turned into big demands. And when she finally said, "I can't right now," the response stung more than she expected. "You're not as helpful as I thought," one friend remarked. It wasn't just the words. It was the way they carried a sense of dismissal, as if her worth was tied solely to how much she could give. She asked me one night, her voice trembling, "Why does it feel like the more I do, the less respect I get?" It's a question many of us have asked ourselves. Stoicism offers a powerful answer. Without boundaries, kindness can appear as a weakness, inviting others to exploit rather than respect us. The Stoic solution: earning respect through boundaries. 1. Kindness and self-discipline go hand in hand. The Stoics teach us that true strength lies in self-discipline. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no time on what they think of you." My wife realized that her desire to be liked and helpful had led her to overextend herself, sacrificing her own needs for the comfort of others. To reclaim her sense of strength, she began practicing mindful kindness, helping only when it aligned with her values and capacity. She learned that saying no wasn't unkind. It was an act of self-discipline and respect for her own time. 2. The power of saying no. One of the hardest lessons she faced was learning to say no without guilt. For years, she felt that declining a request meant failing as a friend, a wife, or a mother. But as Epictetus reminds us, he who is not a slave to his emotions controls his life. She started small, setting limits with people who had grown overly dependent on her. For example, when a colleague repeatedly asked her to cover their shifts, she gently but firmly declined. It was uncomfortable at first, but the change was immediate. Those who valued her adapted to her boundaries, while those who didn't slowly fade away. 3. Define your worth beyond others' opinions. One of the most liberating insights she gained from Stoicism was the idea that your worth isn't defined by others' approval. My wife began to shift her focus inward, asking herself, "Am I acting in line with my principles?" rather than, "Do they think I'm a good person?" This change helped her find peace. By focusing on her values, compassion, honesty, and fairness, she discovered that respect isn't earned through endless giving, but through living authentically. 4. Act with intention, not obligation. Another key lesson came from reflecting on her motivations. Was she helping out of love or out of obligation? By pausing to consider this question, she realized that much of her stress came from a fear of letting people down. Stoicism encourages us to act with intention, not out of compulsion. She began approaching requests with clarity, asking herself, "Is this the best use of my time and energy?" If the answer was no, she allowed herself the freedom to decline. 5. Build respect through action. Finally, my wife realized that respect isn't something you demand, it's something you earn by embodying strength and clarity. She stopped trying to prove her kindness and instead let her actions speak for themselves. Over time, even those who had dismissed her began to admire her confidence and boundaries. As Seneca wrote, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." By craving approval, we weaken ourselves. But by standing firm in our principles, we gain true respect. Through her journey, my wife discovered that kindness isn't about being liked. It's about living with integrity. Setting boundaries doesn't diminish your kindness, it amplifies it, ensuring that your generosity is rooted in strength, not obligation. So the next time someone tries to take advantage of your kindness, remember this: you are not weak for saying no. You are strong for protecting your values and energy. No. 5. Attracting opportunists. Have you ever noticed how some people seem drawn to your kindness, not because they value you, but because they see you as someone they can take advantage of? My best friend, someone I've known for years, found herself caught in this exact situation. She has always been the most generous person I know, offering her time, energy, and even money to anyone who needs help. At first, she thought it was a good thing. Helping others gave her a sense of purpose. But over time, she started feeling something else. Why do I always end up with people who only reach out when they need something? She asked me one evening, her voice heavy with frustration. She shared stories of friends who only called her when they had problems, colleagues who expected her to pick up their slack, and even family members who treated her more like a resource than a loved one. "It's like I'm a magnet for takers," she said. And as she spoke, I could see the toll it was taking on her. She was exhausted, emotionally drained, and beginning to question her worth. Have you ever felt this way? Stoic philosophy sheds light on this. When we give without boundaries, we lower our energy and attract those who only take it. Opportunists are drawn to kindness that lacks limits, and if we're not careful, we can find ourselves surrounded by people who see our generosity as a weakness to exploit. The Stoic solution: protecting your energy. 1. Recognize the signs of opportunists. The first step my friend took was to acknowledge the pattern. Stoicism teaches us to observe life with clarity, free from illusion. She started paying attention to the behavior of those around her. Did they only call when they needed something? Did they disappear when she needed support? Recognizing the signs helped her realize that these weren't true friendships. They were one-sided relationships that drained her energy. Ask yourself, who in your life adds value and who only takes it? 2. Set clear boundaries. My friend's biggest breakthrough came when she began setting boundaries. She realized that her endless availability sent a message. Her time and energy weren't valuable. Stoicism reminds us that self-discipline is key to living a virtuous life. She started small, politely declining unreasonable requests. For instance, when a coworker asked her to finish their project late at night, she responded calmly, "I'm happy to help during work hours, but I can't take on extra work after hours." Saying this for the first time was uncomfortable, but the relief she felt afterward was undeniable. 3. Focus on relationships that matter. One of the most valuable lessons she learned was to invest her energy wisely. Not every relationship deserves equal effort. As the Stoic Epictetus said, know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly. My friend began prioritizing relationships where kindness flowed both ways. She made time for friends who checked in on her, not just those who needed something. She also started building new connections with people who shared her values, relationships based on mutual respect and support. 4. Replenish your energy. Kindness is most powerful when it comes from a place of strength. My friend began practicing mindfulness and self-care to restore her energy. She spent time doing things she loved, like hiking and reading, and she learned to enjoy her own company without feeling guilty. Stoicism teaches us to take care of our inner world first. By focusing on her own well-being, she became more resilient and less susceptible to emotional exhaustion. 5. Approach giving with intention. Finally, she reframed her approach to kindness. Instead of giving out of habit or guilt, she started giving with intention. She asked herself, is this the best use of my time and energy? Will this truly help the other person? This shift helped her see kindness as a strength, not a liability. She found joy in helping those who appreciated her efforts and respected her boundaries. Through her journey, my best friend discovered a powerful truth. Kindness without boundaries attracts opportunists, but kindness with intention builds respect and genuine relationships. If you've ever felt like your kindness is being exploited, Take a moment to reflect. Who in your life lifts you and who drains your energy? By setting boundaries and focusing on meaningful connections, you can protect your energy and transform kindness into a source of strength. And remember, true kindness is not about pleasing everyone. It's about staying true to yourself while uplifting those who truly value you. No 6. Risk of addiction. Have you ever felt like giving too much left? You depended on something to numb the exhaustion, be it food, entertainment, or even validation from others? My wife's close friend, a deeply compassionate woman, found herself entangled in this struggle. Her journey started innocently. She had a natural gift for helping people and found joy in being the dependable one. But as more and more people leaned on her, she began to feel trapped. She told my wife one day, "When I'm not helping someone, I feel restless, like I'm not doing enough. So I just keep saying yes, even when I'm exhausted." To cope, she began relying on fleeting comforts, scrolling endlessly on her phone to escape her thoughts, binge-watching shows late into the night, and indulging in snacks for a brief sense of relief. These habits gave her a momentary break from the emotional toll, but they quickly became a cycle she couldn't escape. Have you ever felt like you're running on empty and reaching for anything to feel whole again? Stoic philosophy offers a profound insight here. When we neglect to care for ourselves, we weaken our ability to live virtuously, and we risk becoming enslaved by our habits. The Stoic solution: rebuilding strength and freedom. 1. Recognize emotional dependence. The first step for my wife's friend was understanding why she felt the need to overgive. The Stoics remind us that self-awareness is key to overcoming challenges. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." She began reflecting on her actions and realized her constant giving wasn't entirely selfless. It was driven by a fear of being seen as unworthy if she didn't always help. Recognizing this allowed her to take the first step toward change. 2. Shift from reaction to intention. One of her biggest breakthroughs came when she learned to pause and evaluate her motivations before saying yes to someone's request. Instead of reacting automatically, she asked herself, "Am I doing this because I genuinely want to help, or because I feel obligated?" This shift helped her make more intentional choices. She realized that by saying yes out of guilt, she was not only depleting her energy, but also enabling others to rely on her too much. 3. Replace destructive patterns with mindful practices. To combat the unhealthy habits she had developed, she turned to mindfulness, a cornerstone of Stoic practice. Instead of scrolling through her phone when overwhelmed, she practiced deep breathing exercises. When she felt the urge to binge-watch shows to escape, she opted for a short walk or a few minutes of journaling. These small shifts helped her reconnect with herself and find healthier ways to manage stress. The Stoics emphasize living in alignment with nature, and by engaging in restorative habits, she began to feel more grounded and less reliant on quick fixes. 4. Set boundaries and embrace self-control. Setting boundaries became her next challenge. She started practicing saying no without guilt, focusing on protecting her time and energy. One of her favorite phrases became, "I'd love to help, but I need to focus on myself right now." By establishing these boundaries, she regained control over her time and began prioritizing relationships that respected her limits. She realized that true kindness doesn't mean saying yes to everyone. It means giving from a place of strength, not sacrifice. 5. Reflect on your core values. Finally, she turned inward to reconnect with her values. Stoicism teaches us to act in harmony with our principles, and she began journaling about what mattered most to her: family, balance, and living a life of purpose. This practice reminded her that she didn't need to prove her worth through overgiving. She found peace in knowing that by taking care of herself, she could give more meaning to those who truly valued her kindness. Through her journey, my wife's friend discovered that relying on unhealthy habits to cope with overgiving only leads to deeper exhaustion and emotional imbalance. By embracing Stoic principles, self-awareness, mindful giving, and setting boundaries, she broke free from the cycle of dependency and found a renewed sense of freedom and inner strength. If you've ever felt like you're losing yourself in your generosity, remember this: True kindness begins with protecting your own well-being. Choose intentional actions, honor your boundaries, and watch how your relationships and inner peace transform. No. 7. Suspicion of motives. Have you ever felt like your genuine kindness was met with skepticism, as if people questioned your motives for helping? I have, and it was one of the most challenging realizations in my life. There was a time when I prided myself on being helpful and always ready to support friends, family, or even acquaintances. It felt good to be seen as reliable, someone others could lean on. But then something happened that caught me off guard. One day, after helping a colleague resolve a complicated project issue, I overheard them talking to another coworker. They said, "I wonder why he's always so helpful. What's he trying to get out of it?" Their words hit me like a punch to the stomach. I wasn't doing it for recognition or gain. I was helping because I cared. But suddenly, I felt exposed, as if my kindness had been misunderstood or worse, misjudged. That moment stayed with me. I began noticing that my acts of generosity often made others suspicious. Was it because true kindness is rare in today's world? Or had I somehow failed to set boundaries that conveyed strength alongside my willingness to help? Have you ever felt like your good intentions were questioned or misunderstood? Stoic philosophy helped me navigate this emotional storm. The Stoics teach us that our actions must align with our values, not the opinions of others. Through reflection and practice, I found ways to maintain kindness while cultivating respect and clarity in my relationships. The Stoic solution: balancing kindness with clarity. 1. Act without attachment to opinions. The Stoics emphasize that we cannot control how others perceive us. We can only control our own actions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." I realized that my kindness needed no justification if it was rooted in authenticity. This shift in perspective freed me from seeking validation. I began helping others not because I wanted their approval, but because it aligned with who I was. When I stopped worrying about their opinions, I felt a weight lift from my shoulders. 2. Strengthen your boundaries. One of the biggest lessons I learned was the importance of setting boundaries. While my kindness was genuine, I noticed that my willingness to help often lacked clear limits. People may have questioned my motives because I had blurred the lines between generosity and over-involvement. I started saying no when requests felt excessive or misaligned with my principles. For instance, when a friend repeatedly asked for favors without reciprocating, I kindly explained that I couldn't always step in. Setting these boundaries not only protected my energy, but also signaled to others that my kindness was intentional and balanced. 3. Clarify your intentions. When acts of kindness are misunderstood, it can help to communicate your intentions. For example, when I offered to help someone, I began framing it differently. I'm doing this because I believe in supporting one another, not because I expect anything in return. This clarity helped reduce suspicion and fostered healthier relationships. People began to understand that my actions stemmed from genuine care, not ulterior motives. 4. Reflect on your inner values. Through journaling and quiet reflection, I reconnected with my core values. Stoicism reminds us that kindness is a virtue when it's grounded in reason and self-awareness. I asked myself, am I giving because it aligns with my principles, or because I feel obligated? This practice deepened my understanding of why I chose to help others. By aligning my actions with my values, I found peace in knowing that my kindness was an expression of my true self, regardless of how others perceived it. 5. Embrace selective giving. Finally, I learned the power of selective giving. The Stoics teach us to focus our efforts where they are most meaningful. I stopped trying to please everyone and started investing my kindness in people and causes that resonated with my values. This approach not only strengthened my relationships, but also protected me from emotional exhaustion. Giving selectively allowed me to offer my best self without feeling drained or misunderstood. My journey taught me that kindness is not about being liked. It's about staying true to your values and acting with clarity. When your actions align with your principles, you can let go of the need for others to understand or approve of you. If you've ever felt hurt by the way your kindness was received, remember this: your intentions are what matter most. Set boundaries, clarify your motives, and give with purpose. True strength lies in being kind while remaining steadfast in your self-worth and principles. As we reach the end of this journey, let's pause and reflect on the timeless lessons we've uncovered. Kindness, while powerful and transformative, requires balance, intention, and boundaries. Without these, it risks draining our energy, attracting opportunists, or even leaving us misunderstood. The Stoics teach us that true kindness begins within. By practicing self-awareness, setting healthy limits, and giving with purpose, we cultivate not only stronger relationships, but also a deeper connection with our values. These principles are not just ideas. They are tools for reclaiming your emotional strength and finding peace in your generosity. Remember, kindness doesn't mean sacrificing your well-being. It's about giving from a place of abundance, not exhaustion. It's about saying no when needed and investing your energy in ways that align with your goals and inner peace. I encourage you to take these lessons and apply them to your life. Reflect on your relationships, your boundaries, and your intentions. Practice small acts of mindful kindness each day, both towards others and, most importantly, towards yourself. If this video resonated with you, please give it a like and subscribe to Stoic Narratives Official for more insights into Stoic philosophy and personal growth. And don't forget to share your own stories in the comments below. How has practicing these lessons changed your life? Your journey could inspire someone else. Together, let's build a world where kindness is strong, mindful, and true.